The Florida Blue Florida Classic is back on Saturday, November 22nd, 2025. Come see the Florida A&M Rattlers and the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. Two legends, one stage. From the tailgates to the touchdowns, the vibe never stops. The FAMU Marching 100 and the BCU Marching Wildcats are bringing the battle and the heat. This is our game, our weekend, our classic. Tickets are on sale now at floridaclassic.org.
The Florida Classic is this weekend. A lot of pride on the line between FAMU and Bethune-Cookman. No ride on the line to the Celebration Bowl or the SWAC Championship, but it's going to be packed there in the Sunshine State. FAMU, Bethune-Cookman, the Florida Classic. Looking forward to that one. What's up, everybody? It is HBCU Game Day. I'm Tali Carr. Simone is in the studio. Simone, I didn't roll my neck this week on the intro like I did last week, did I?
You're awake today.
All right, and joining us from Jackson, Mississippi, as always, it's our guy, Wilton Jackson. What's up, Wilton? No tie.
What's going on, Tyler? What's up, Simone?
He's laid back a little bit this
You know
week.
what? Hey, I got something for you. Not only do I not have a tie today, but see, I brought a prop because it's a couple teams that's going to be trying to go for one of these.
Oh.
So I'm going to take home one from a specific game this week, but then some are going to be trying to compete for their trophy in the SWAC Championship coming up in about 2 weeks or so.
Is that one of your race-winning 5K trophies that you got there?
It absolutely is.
It's shining, boy.
I figure Wilton runs like a 3-minute mile, so he wins all the races that he's in.
It's shining.
All right, somebody's going to be shining in Delaware this weekend. Let's start with the MEAC. South Carolina State makes the trip to Dover, Delaware. You see the overall records. The conference records are the same. We don't have to worry about any tiebreakers. We don't have to worry about any MEAC math. Winner goes to –
What if it's a tie?
It ain't going to be no tie.
What if it goes to like 15 overtimes?
No. We're coming out of Dover with the winner. MEAC is going to keep it simple.
I'm scared.
All right, Simone, I'm just going to toss it to you and your microphone that just keeps running. Your microphone
This
is
is not my fault, but your mic is sturdy. Can we get like a me and Tali? Yeah. You see how my mic is like far away? Tali's mic is all cushioned right up under him. I'm having to fight for my life. Make sure y'all can hear me every show. See that? Come on
they
now.
got to tighten that thing up, man.
Anyways,
Hold on to your life. Tell us about the game.
it all comes down
To
to
this.
this. First of all I want to say is 10-10-10s to Delaware State to make it to the MEAC Championship. And in the first year under Coach Jackson, the future is extremely bright. And I know that sounds like I'm thinking this is the end of the road. It definitely is not.
Who's calling?
I'm
Who's
just
calling?
so proud of Coach Jackson. I'm so proud of the Delaware State Hornets for making it here. South Carolina State, all the respect. This game, man, I'm so excited. I'm nervous. I just can't believe it's all coming down to one game. Both teams undefeated. Go ahead.
All right, Wilton, Chennisberry has been here before. DeSean Jackson, every week is a new week for him as a college head coach. Wilton, the Hornets were picked to finish dead last in the MEAC in the preseason. They've been anything but that. We know that South Carolina State has the experience, the championship pedigree. If they were to make it, this will be their third Celebration Bowl under two different coaches, Buddy Pugh and Chennisberry. Wilton, I know you're excited. Any thoughts about how this might play out on Saturday?
I think you might be getting ready to see a really strong competition of what you saw last week against Delaware State and North Carolina Central, a close match that we basically said would come down to maybe a special team play, a defensive play, or who has the ball at the end of the game. And honestly, Tyler, I could really see that happening again because you have two teams that are really, really strong and good in exactly what they do well. Of course, with Delaware State, we know they're going to run the ball. We know that Caden Bennett is going to, make the plays that needs to be made from passing the ball. But then also with South Carolina State, we've seen their rushing attack come along strong. And we've also seen William Atkins IV really kind of take this team under his wing and make the plays that need to be made. So I think, honestly, this game is going to come down to probably who has the ball last, who can get stops in terms of stopping the opposing team's rushing attack, and more so than anything, in the team that can actually still run the ball late in games, which we saw South Carolina State clinch that win in that game with a run. That's the team I feel like is going to win the game. So we know what Delaware State brings to the table, and Marquise Gillis and Jones. I mean, you talk about two dynamic running backs for Delaware State have gotten the job done all season. So as Simone kind of said it, she didn't allude to it. She didn't say that the end of the road was coming for Delaware State. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say Delaware State gets there this year. I just don't think they make it. And I've been high on Delaware State all year, but I think it's going to be South Carolina State that's going to be competing for one of these in the Celebration Bowl.
Does home field advantage, Delaware State is going to have the home field advantage, which is huge for them, especially this is Coach Jackson. These are all these players, first time in a championship game.
And if anybody hasn't supported Delaware State this year, if anybody, there should be no excuses. Now, I'm not saying people haven't been supporting them, but like this is everything.
It should be packed out. Yes. It should be packed out. South Carolina State fans, they move though, they travel though, they have a good base. The way
ride.
I might pass out.
That's a long ride.
It is a long ride, but they sprinkled around.
Yeah.
They be places. They up and down. But man, oh man, this game, I'm just praying for a good game, which it should be. I'm with Wilton. I feel like this game is going to come down to the last final drive. Both of these teams know how to win in those late game scenarios. Both of these teams know how to string together game-winning drives. Both of these defenses have proven they can bite down when it matters.
Look, here's what the South Carolina State fans have been saying, that we have not been talking about the Bulldogs enough. We've been talking all about Delaware State. We don't talk about South Carolina State enough.
I will say this about the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs have looked like the most dangerous team. Yes, Delaware State, obviously they have a lot of hype because of their coach, so they get a lot of more eyeballs. South Carolina State has looked how they were supposed to look all season long. So shout out to the Bulldogs. They've looked dominant, and that offense is what scares me. Delaware State's defense has gotten better as the season has gone along, but that offense from South Carolina State.
I feel like I have mercy.
She gonna be scared.
Y'all don't realize I've been talking about this all week. I've been telling my mama, I'm scared. I'm like, Saturday, turn on the game. Mama, it all come down to this. I've been talking about this all week.
So, Wilton, all right, so people say we haven't talked about South Carolina State enough. We've been on the Delaware State hype train. You know, every year we're on somebody's train. That's
Call me a conductor.
Apparently what we do. Is this, again, now you talked about the game, but I want you to double down. Is this going to be an equal matchup? Is South Carolina State better, head and shoulders than Delaware State, but we just haven't given them their credit? Or do you think this is two equal teams coming into this game?
I think it's two equal teams coming into this game. That's what I started off saying in the previous segment when I was talking about these are two teams that are really, really good at what they do respectively. Like, we know that with South Carolina State, I would probably give more of the edge in terms of quarterback play to William Atkins IV. But in terms of running the ball, like, both of these teams, we know that Delaware State, that's their bread and butter. They're going to run the ball. Marquise Gillis is going to be the guy that gets most of the rushes, and of course, the second running back coming in behind him. But what has really helped South Carolina State and William Atkins since he's become the starter under center for the Bulldogs is that rushing attack. And again, if you watched the game last week against North Carolina Central, the game-winning touchdown that we didn't necessarily know was going to necessarily be the final touchdown of the game, but the game-winning touchdown came on a running play from the Bulldogs. And it was a simple play, but the running back for South Carolina State was just not going to be denied the end zone. And so that's why I say, like, really, and Simone kind of alluded to this, the defenses for each one of these teams is really going to be the biggest key down the stretch. Which defense can get a stop? Which front seven is going to remain, have discipline in their gaps to stop the runs? Because that's going to be the most important factor into which team wins this game.
South Carolina State did not have to win last week, but they did, and it was a thrilling game against North Carolina Central. Emotional game. They had to dig way down deep. Does that make it hard to do that 2 weeks in a row? Or, look, they got an extra day off since it was a Friday night game. I know no one's going to be looking for any excuses, but is that something to consider that, on back-to-back weekends, you're playing these games that are just like, so much pressure, everything on the line?
Because it's the same for everybody. It's the MEAC. Every game is an emotional game where you fight for your life. So that goes for Delaware State, too.
Okay. Just asking.
No,
I don't think it's a big factor. Oh, go ahead, Simone.
No, but go ahead, Wilton. I don't think it's a.
She said, "Go ahead," and started talking.
I don't think it's it's the MEAC. Every game is emotional. Every game is tight. Every game is essentially a rivalry game. So, if that's the case for South Carolina State, that's the case for Delaware State too.
Okay. All right. You see how she does me, America. You just can't play devil's advocate. You just can't throw stuff out there for discussion.
I already told you how intense
smack
this
it down.
is.
All right, before this game is played, since everything is still in the hypothetical, and we don't know how it'll turn out, obviously, can we just take a moment to talk about the job that DeSean Jackson has done? Because I think if everyone is honest, very few people thought this would be. Now, if you just had Michael Vick made it, you probably would have had more people saying, yeah, okay, I see that. He gonna put together the staff. He gonna do that. But when you saw DeSean Jackson, you're like, I don't know. The voters definitely didn't think it.
The voters?
The preseason voters.
Oh.
They didn't think it.
Well, I'm not a voter, so I ain't have him last.
So, some of y'all out in the streets when he came to the when he came to media day with his polo, some of y'all didn't see it.
Polo t-shirt, polo.
But just what he's been able to do. And not, I don't think, again, the majority of the people thought this would be the case.
Yeah, thank God I don't live in the majority because me and Wilton did our show. Now, I said in the beginning it was going to be Vic and DeSean in the MEAC Championship game. Obviously, one didn't make it. But regardless, I'm 50-50, you know what I mean? One of two. Coach Jackson said from the get-go, you know what I mean, what this opportunity meant for him. We saw the way he was able to recruit. We saw the way that he was a student of the coaching game. Again, he got the green light from Andy Reid to even get the job. You know what I mean? So, Andy Reid seeing something in him. He was still hanging around the practices under Coach Nick Sirianni for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's been bought in throughout this entire process. This is something that he's wanted to do since he saw Deion Sanders do it. Deion Sanders was his inspiration. And we saw how quickly Deion Sanders was able to find success through recruiting, through leaning on his coaching mentors. And DeSean Jackson followed the same blueprint. And just getting those guys to buy in, believe that this doesn't have to be a rebuild year. We here to win now. So, it's crazy what Coach Jackson has been able to do in 1 year, and they're just getting started. This is just the foundation from 1 year. Imagine when we keep this going. Yeah, because Berg ain't, we all in this.
Well, I think it helps shoot down some of the narrative that, coaches have to look a certain way, talk a certain way, be a certain way. DeSean Jackson is one of these guys. He's authentic to who he is. And he still kind of has that player swag to him. No one's going to listen to DeSean Jackson and accuse him of coach speak. He keeps it real and honest and authentic. And it's effective. It's working for him, working for his team.
No, it absolutely is. It's absolutely working for him, and it's worked for him all season. This is a coach that really hasn't cared about what anybody has said about his attire. I guarantee you that's probably the last thing he thinks about when he gets ready for a game on Saturday. But I think that I'll be the first to say, just to add to that, I was definitely the person that said I felt like Norfolk State was probably going to have a better chance than Delaware State to be successful. I definitely remember saying that I felt like Delaware State would win more games this season versus obviously where we had seen this program in the last several years. So definitely a big shout out to what DeSean Jackson has done with this program, because again, not only was he battling in terms of restoring the program, but let's not forget that this is a Delaware State program that didn't have the best facilities in terms of attracting and recruiting players to this program. So he's been kind of also building on that with, restoring success and what that means at Delaware State. So the future is extremely, extremely bright when it comes to Delaware State. And I want to point out something that Simone said as far as like when she said that his mentor, one of his mentors or a person he looked up to was Deion Sanders. And just to point this out, and it goes back more toward the game. If we remember that very first spring season, not the first fall season, but that spring season for Coach Sanders, you remember when he didn't perform, the team didn't perform, Jackson State didn't perform the way that he wanted them to perform. And the last thing I always remember from that spring season was, you better get me now because you won't get me later. And so I think that if Delaware State doesn't beat South Carolina State, I can guarantee you they will be no surprise for anybody coming into next season.
Yeah, agreed. So it's going to be this Saturday. Everything's on the line. Delaware State, South Carolina State. Winner goes to the Celebration Bowl in Atlanta, where they will face whoever wins that game, the winner of whoever plays Prairie View from the East. Will it be Jackson State? Will it be Alabama State? Prairie View A&M has clinched the West, so there will be no wacky West. Let's wait till the Bayou Classic is over. Prairie View is in the SWAC Championship game. They'll either take on Jackson State or Alabama State. Wilton, the Soul Bowl. No, let me get that right. Soul Bowl is this weekend. Jackson State, Alcorn State. A month ago, if I would have told you Jackson State, Alcorn State, I'd have been like, oh, man, Jackson State's going to BTA. But Alcorn State in the last month, 5-6, if you just look at it on paper, you're like, oh, it hasn't been a great season. Overall, no, but the last month has been a lot better, Wilton, for Alcorn.
Oh, absolutely. If you're Alcorn, this is the best time of the year that you could have gotten and started playing your best football going into late October, early November, and now later into November. They've ripped off multiple wins to really not necessarily compete for a SWAC title, but absolutely set the standard for what the 2026 season could be for the Braves on the reservation. So if you're Jackson State, you absolutely have to make sure that your mind is locked in for this game, because this is do or die. Like you have to win this game against Alcorn to, obviously, set yourself up for the SWAC title. And not only that, but again, we've seen in this game, even for between the last 4 to 5 years, like you throw out records. Obviously, last year's game was a blowout, but you throw out records when it comes to the rivalry game between Jackson State and Alcorn, because you just know it's going to be fierce. And I think that this year, you talk about a Jackson State team that's coming off of a big win against Bethune-Cookman last week. Defense is really taking heed to like the things that people have been saying, specifically the secondary and how they've been tested. And so they're going to go up against a quarterback in Jalen Tolbert from Alcorn and a rushing attack from Jacorian Sewell that's dominant. Here's the thing for Jackson State that works in their favor. Not too many teams have been able to run the ball against Jackson State this year, especially over a consistent period of time. So if you're Jackson State, in terms of winning this game, if you can essentially make Jalen Tolbert a true quarterback and let him beat you, or try to make him beat you with putting the ball in the air, I think it bodes well for them. If you're Alcorn, if you find a way to run against Jackson State's front seven, their linebackers, and you find success in the air, if you're Tolbert, against Jackson State secondary, you have a very strong chance of winning this game. But I just think that I'm not going to say it's going to be a blowout, but I definitely still think Jackson State is going to come out on top with the win in this game, maybe by 7 to 10 points.
All right, Simone, so here are the stakes. Jackson State, if they win, they are in. They have the same conference record as Alabama State, but they beat Alabama State in the head-to-head. So if both teams win, they'll have the same record, but Jackson State has the tiebreaker. If Jackson State loses and Alabama State wins their game against UAPB, then Alabama State will go to the SWAC Championship. But the schedule actually lines up in favor, if you will, because Alabama State's game starts at noon, about an hour or so before the Jackson State game. So they don't have to scoreboard watch. All they have to do is go out and play. Their game is going to be over first. At the very least, do you like that if you're Alabama State, that you don't have to play your game and be keeping an eye on the scoreboard?
Yeah, that's very favorable, because obviously – you want to block out the noise, just go out and play. But obviously that Jackson State game is going to be on everybody's mind, which could be a distraction, especially if you're going into halftime and, you're not supposed to be on your phone. Somebody's going to have a phone.
Oh, they're going to announce it in the stadium,
Yeah, somebody's going to have.
Or they would.
Yeah, they're going to hear something. So it's great for Alabama State to know that they can lock in this game. And while they're playing this game, know that they at least have a chance to make the SWAC championship. So, They got blessed.
I don't think Alabama State's going to have a problem with UAPB. But Wilton, if you had to pick one game that might keep it interesting in terms of, underdog, and what do you see that could be interesting on Saturday? Because we would like it to, keep us on the edge of our seats a little bit.
Tolly, I'm gonna be honest with you. Unless you might get a interesting first half. I'm gonna be honest with you. Unless Arkansas Pine Bluff comes out firing on all cylinders, Christian Peters has a phenomenal game. Alabama State's defense can't get any stops against the Lions' offense. That's the only way this game becomes interesting. Other than that, I just really do think that this Alabama State team is just way too talented on the offensive side of the ball and way too talented on the defensive side of the ball to drop a game against Arkansas Pine Bluff. This game is also at Alabama State. So you talk about home field advantage. This is the Alabama State team that knows what's at stake. They have to win this game and, again, get some help to potentially play in a SWAC title game, something they've been itching to do, something they wanted to even do last year. And, obviously we know the things that have happened in their quarterback being hurt and Andrew Body. Like, again, we've said this before. If Andrew Body's maybe not hurt last year, this could have been a potential SWAC championship team or a team competing for a SWAC championship. So now, obviously, Andrew Body is still hurt right now. They have Tayshawn Smoot on the center, but they've still found ways to win games. And I just don't see them having any issues taking care of the Golden Lions this weekend.
Yeah, just think about it, guys. Alabama State could win this game. They should very well win the Turkey Day Classic against Tuskegee. They could finish Wilton, 10-2, and potentially have nothing to show for it in terms of a championship, a playoff berth, because the Turkey Day Classic takes them out of contention for being an FCS playoff team because of the schedule. Man, that would be like, yeah, we're 10-2, but like, man, we didn't win anything like that we can put on our shelf.
But that all goes into the next season. You know what I'm saying? For the guys that stand, you building a foundation. Plus, it's still pride. You know what I mean? You still had a great season individually for these specific athletes. You still put up great stuff on film for individuals. So maybe not necessarily like a team thing, but for the individual players, that's big. For Coach Rob, that's big. For the fans, you still got all them wins. You was lit on Saturday. You could talk G on Twitter.
But Wilson, that's how the SWAC East has gone. We saw that year after year with Jackson State and FAMU. Whoever won that game, the other team still had a great year. And
so
Jackson
you're
beat
saying
FAMU.
they need to just get away with the East-West?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's tough. It
is tough, but there's still a lot to go off of. Like, would you rather have not made the SWAC championship game and only won 4 games?
No.
Would you rather have a bad season and not make it, or have a great season and not make it?
It's still tough.
I'll say this. I definitely think that Alabama State will have a lot to be proud of. If you're Eddie Robinson, of course you have a lot to be proud of because you're the head coach of this team. You want to keep your job and you're doing what you're supposed to do. But as a fan in this, and then also as the players of the team, there will be some, I won't even necessarily say a disappointment, but that certain feeling of like, man, this season is not complete. Like, it's complete in terms of the games, but it's not complete from the standpoint we didn't get to our ultimate goal. And really, they were a play away from getting to their ultimate goal. And they will remember that. That's
the thing. You know what I'm saying? We already knew that it was coming down to that game. So they essentially played their championship game week, whatever it was, whatever week that was, Jackson, Alabama State, that was the championship game.
Yeah.
That was the game that they had to win, and they did it.
Great game.
Great game. Tens. Beautiful gowns. Beautiful. But, that's what it came down to. So imagine if that game was later in the season. You wouldn't have that same tone.
All right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just so happened they had the mid-season.
Yeah. But that's what makes
sports
sports. Like, it's that do or die, and it's like you can be great but still come up short.
You got to win that one game. You got to win that game. You got to go out and win. And
Jackson State won it. All right, let's talk about Prairie View. They can kind of relax a little bit this weekend. Even if they were to lose, doesn't mean anything. They are locked in to the SWAC championship game. Shouldn't lose. They got Valley this weekend. You see the math on the screen there: 1-9 versus 8-3. Do they want to rest starters? I don't know. I don't know how all that's gonna play out. But either way, they will be in the SWAC championship game. Wilton, is this Prairie View a team that can make it all the way to the Celebration Bowl?
Tali, they've shown they've shown all season that they have the pieces to do it. In terms of with their starts on the offensive side of the ball, it starts with their rushing attack, and the running backs that they have, and then of course on defense, we know what they've been able to do all season. One of the top 3 defenses in the SWAC, and just being able to make plays. I think the biggest thing for me when it comes to Prairie View has always been, it starts with their signal caller and Cameron Peters and what he's able to do and be consistent in addition to that rushing attack. So I feel like running the ball has been great for them, but I think for them to win a Celebration Bowl, depending on, obviously that would mean they would either get past either Jackson State or Alabama State. I think we'll have to see a much more consistent version of Cameron Peters, which we have seen. We saw that last week, but we know for sure we can't see the version that we saw against an Alabama State team that resulted in a loss for Prairie View. So I think they have all the right pieces. Cameron Peters, Chase Beeman, they have Lamaje McDowell as another running back, their wide receiver impact player in Josiah Rockwell. And like I said, their defense is loaded. Their front 7 on the defensive line is strong. And then they all embrace the mindset that Tremaine Jackson has. And we talk about giving credit to first-year coaches like we did for DeSean Jackson, Delaware State. Tremaine Jackson has came in and really re-elevated Prairie View in a sense, because again, not too long ago, I want to say 2021, when they were playing for a SWAC championship, that was only 4 years ago. And so to see them get back to this point and where they are and what he's been able to do in his first season coming from Valdosta State, he said this is what he was going to do. He had been talking all offseason about the Panthers would be in this moment. He was preparing for Atlanta. I'm sure you guys also saw the clip that was on social media of him singing about this team being in Atlanta. And so he's not very far away from that, but he still has the giant to take care of the SWAC East, whether it's Jackson State or Alabama State. But in terms of those matchups, they definitely have shown that they have the keys to get it done, should they do it.
Simone, when it comes down to the SWAC championship game, it's either going to be Jackson State or Alabama State against Prairie View. Who would you pick that will ultimately make it to the Celebration Bowl, the SWAC East or the SWAC West?
It's hard for me going against Jackson State right now. Jackson State, they know how to win. You know what I'm saying? They've been here before. So it's just hard for me to bet against Jackson State in this game this week to make it to the championship, make it to the SWAC championship. It's hard for me to bet against Jackson State in the SWAC championship. They, like I said, that one little loss they had out west to Grambling, like I said, I felt like that was the refocusing loss that was going to have them in kill mode for the rest of the season. So I just can't go against Jackson right now.
Wilton, let's talk about Jared Lockhart. Let's say Jackson State does win on Saturday and they do make it to the SWAC championship game. Lockhart has come in 5 games he's played this year. He's passing 64%, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, about 172 yards per game. Man, they had to play last week. I think it was like an 80-some yard touchdown. The defender lost his helmet. It was a crazy play. A lot of people high on Lockhart. Do you think the freshman can keep it all together and take this team on a championship run?
Tyler, I absolutely think that he can. And you're talking about that second play of the game when he found his wide receiver in the left-hand side on that deep pass. And, I mean, it was a beautiful pass. But I will say this, Jared Lockhart, you're starting to see him come together more and more and feel confident in the role. Like we've said before on the show, that it was really more so the fact of him getting comfortable in being a starting quarterback. Like, it's easy when you're on the sideline and you're watching Jacoby and Morgan lead this offense and facilitate it in a way that looks easy. But when you're under pressure, when you're under center, when you're taking those snaps and that defense is coming at you, you got to respond. And I think that we've seen him grow and respond in so many ways from that very first game that he got in for Jacoby and in the Grambling game. And we've seen him read the field a little bit better. Of course, there's still moments where, specifically even in this last game against Bethune-Cookman, where things were a little bit tight. You could see that he was still in the motion of trying to figure things out, but he looked much better against Bethune-Cookman, reading their defense versus like when he got first thrown into the game against Grambling. So I think, again, as long as he is able to manage the plays that Coach Taylor and Coach Kirk are calling for him, and doesn't do too much, and relies on a solid running game. I'm sure you guys have seen Jackson State had 3 running backs rush for 100 yards last week against Bethune-Cookman, a total of 360 yards or 370 plus yards on the ground. So if you're Jared Lockhart, that tells you may not have to do too much, or you shouldn't do too much to hurt your team, as long as you have a strong rushing attack to help along with that.
Yeah, beast of a backfield there for Jackson State. Numbers seem to be in their favor, but they have to play the games this weekend. So we'll be watching. Alabama State will go first against UAPB, and then Alabama State, will go first. And then Jackson State will follow things up with the Soul Bowl against Alcorn. And winners move on. If Jackson State wins, they move on. If they lose and Alabama State wins, then Alabama State goes in. All right, Florida Classic is this weekend, Bethune-Cookman and FAMU. Bethune-Cookman made it as interesting as they have in a long time. Up until about 2 weeks ago, we were like, hey, Bethune-Cookman might. They were at least in position to control their destiny, but they did not get it done. A couple of losses, and they're now back down to 5-6. FAMU quietly getting it together, Wilton. If they wouldn't have missed that Mississippi Valley State game because of the promoter snafu, this could have been a 6-5 team. Snafu. Yeah, they had more mouth than they had money. So that game, they got to play Mississippi Valley State next week after the Florida Classic. But regardless, Wilton, pride is enough to be on the line when it comes to Bethune-Cookman, FAMU, and really one of the big wins for the SWAC when they brought both of these teams into the conference a few years ago, because you get the Florida Classic on your plate as well.
Absolutely, Todd. This is one of the premier HBCU classics. Even when they were in the MEAC, it was a premier classic, but it makes it even bigger now that they're in the SWAC. And again, this is a game that is going to have no shortage of excitement. You're talking about a Bethune-Cookman team that, let's keep it real, I don't think any of us thought that they would have the success that they've had this season. Like you said, 2 weeks ago, we were saying that they were in contention of potentially maybe making a run toward the SWAC East title. And now you're looking at a FAMU team that, again, almost 3 weeks ago, or maybe two weeks ago after that Jackson State game, where we were just saying, like, okay, who is this FAMU team? We knew that they weren't necessarily going to beat Jackson State, but we were still kind of up in the air on, like, where could this team go? You're FAMU, you're 5-5, you're Coach Cozy. The best thing that you could hope for this season is definitely finishing with a record at least 500 or above. They have a chance to go 6-5 this weekend if they get a win over Bethune-Cookman. And I'm going to go out on a limb to say that I think they're going to get this win. Someone texted me and said, and I quote, FAMU doesn't play well against teams that they're supposed to beat or rivalry teams or whatever. And I hate to say it, but I think I'm going to have to go with FAMU in this game. Although I really, really like what Coach Raymond Woody has done with Bethune-Cookman, I find a way. I can't bet against the Rattlers. In terms of losing to Bethune-Cookman, although I think this is going to be one of the probably a pretty tight game when you start talking about Florida Classics and what that means and things like that.
All right, Florida Classic. Simone, FAMU, Bethune-Cookman. You got to make a pick. Who would you roll with?
I'm going with FAMU. I would say, especially after seeing the way they played last week against Alabama A&M, it was a close game, but FAMU in these close game scenarios, they find ways to win. We've seen in the past couple of weeks, the Rattlers have been able to do that. I think that when we talk about the end of the season, it's going to be huge for Coach Cozy to come out above 500. You still want to beat your rivals, even if neither one of y'all are in playoff contention. FAMU's quarterback is playing exceptionally well right now. So I'm going to have to go with the Rattlers this week.
You were on the broadcast last week for that FAMU Alabama A&M game. What stood out to you about the Rattlers watching them play?
I would say the energy that they still have on the sideline. Again, like we were talking about Alabama State, maybe being eliminated and looking back on their season. FAMU knows they're out of it, but they still have so much energy on the sideline. So that's always good to see. And they still have a lot to play for when it comes to finishing above 500. That's big for the coach and for the players. So I think they're going to come out with the right energy this game. And, defense looked good. Quarterback, he's playing really good. So Gonna have to go with the Rattlers.
So 2 more games in the season for FAMU. They got the Florida Classic, and then they've got to make up the game that got rescheduled earlier in the year against Mississippi Valley State. So an opportunity there for FAMU to go 7-5 in a season that did not look like it would turn out that way, but to finish 2 games above 500, which is a possibility, or they could lose the Florida Classic and beat Valley and be 500, or they could lose both games.
You love complicating these.
I'm just saying, I don't want the fans to say that I said their team is absolutely 100% going to lose. We just, put the scenarios out there. This is a Division I show because we got a Division II show. We love all HBCUs, but I thought this week we should definitely acknowledge the history that was made over the weekend. 5 HBCUs plead the 5th made it to the. It's a Dave Chappelle skit. You're probably too young to remember. 1, 2, 3.
Well, Wilton didn't laugh, so
I don't care if y'all laughed or not. It was one of the funniest skits. So we got Benedict College. We got Albany State. We have Virginia Union, Kentucky State, and Johnson C. Smith. So 5 Division II teams will be in the playoffs. Only 32 teams. Who do you guys feel strongest about out of those 5?
I got 5 on it.
I remember that too. That was in my wheelhouse. I wasn't having 5 on it. I remember the song.
So you was broke.
I didn't smoke weed. No, that's what
That's what that was about. I thought that meant
you didn't know what the song was about.
I thought it just meant never mind.
Lord have mercy. They are in you in the comments. They are on you in the comments right now.
Oh, okay. Anyways, you just be vibing the beats.
He literally said in the song what they had 5 on.
I thought they were just vibing. When you out with your friends.
Weed, I got 5. Oh, Lord have mercy. Lord, bless the youngins. Bless the youngins out there. Anyway, back to football, which you do know something about. Which one of those 5 teams or more do you feel strongly about?
Man, Kentucky State, they've been on. I would say Kentucky State and brick by brick. I go with brick by brick. Johnson C. Smith. Especially Coach Huggins. I mean, when we talk about laying that foundation, taking your time, program believing in you, staff believing in you, it's not always instant success you see. So, Coach Huggins came in. He had some hype, and first season or whatever wasn't, we headed to the SIC Championship game. But it's all about buying in, and now it's paying off. So I really like what Coach Huggins is doing. Obviously, we get a full behind the scenes of Johnson C. Smith and Coach Flowers through the Brick by Brick documentary. So obviously got some emotional attachment there.
Albany State, man, the only team they lost to this year has been FAMU, and they were close to – that was a close game. That's a very, very, very strong team. I like those guys. Wilton, who would you give flowers to on that Division II side looking to make a run starting this weekend?
All of them have a strong chance, but I definitely think my 3, though, I definitely got to start with Johnson C. Smith. And you talk about the way – that Coach Maurice Flowers has really elevated this Johnson C. Smith team. And it seems like it went so fast, but I want to say this is his 4th season at Johnson C. Smith. So to see them, be the team that they've, been all season. And again, they got to the same spot that they were last year and couldn't get the job done in the final 2 weeks. And to get over the hump this year, this is a really special Golden Bulls team. And not only that, but the way that they even beat Virginia Union. I mean, how many times did we talk about, well, maybe not on this show, but for all of us that know about Curtis Allen in terms of his impact in Virginia Union, someone who rushed for over 2,000 yards, it's hard to beat Virginia Union and Alvin Parker's team. So I really like Johnson C. Smith chances in the Division II playoffs. Albany State as well. Coach Quinn has done an excellent job. Gave FAMU all they can handle when they played earlier this season. And I'm expecting them to do well. Interesting storyline because they're going up against Jermaine Jackson's old team in Valdosta State. Yeah. So that'll be one to keep an eye on. And then for sure, Benedict and what they've been able to do. I'm excited to see what they can do as well.
Yeah, Benedict, the only team they've lost to has been Albany State, who hasn't lost to anyone on the Division II side. So we wish all of our HBCUs well as they start the Division II NCAA playoffs this weekend. Guys, I did not have this on the rundown, but I do want to throw it in, and I want to get everyone's kind of take on it. We saw our first look at Shedeur Sanders this weekend. Former Jackson State quarterback, got in for the Browns. Wasn't his greatest half of football. No one was really expecting him to get into the game, including the Cleveland Browns, who hadn't been giving the guy any reps in practice. But Dylan Gabriel goes down with a concussion, and Shedeur got in. Had a couple of good throws, but it was a little rough for his first time out. Simone, are you still high on Shedeur Sanders in the NFL?
Yes, because I'm not a hot take artist. That's what somebody looks like when they're a rookie and it's week 11 and they've never played a snap in a regular season game, barely got snaps in preseason. That's what they look like when they get thrown into an NFL game. Like, anybody making any long-term assessments over one half of football for a rookie in week 11, then they just talking shit.
Yeah, there's that one play, Wilton, where three offensive linemen were over here against one defensive lineman, and the whole middle was just wide open. They were like, yeah, that was a little rough for everybody in that second half. But your thoughts, Wilton, on him finally? I was just happy that he got to play, and I'm not worried about his performance. I feel like if you give him time to prepare, we have seen what this guy can do, and I think he can do it at the next level. But your thoughts on Shedeur finally just getting some burn?
I echo everything pretty much what Simone said. I mean, when you throw a rookie quarterback, no matter if it's Shedeur Sanders, if it's whatever Sanders, or Sanders is on the back of his jersey, any quarterback that you throw into a professional NFL game is going to struggle if they haven't been getting snaps in practice, and they didn't really, to Simone's point, get a lot of time during preseason to really show what they could truly do. So it's just kind of like, I'm not really surprised that he struggled. But to your point, Tyler, I'm glad that he got a chance to do it. But also, to Simone's point, you're going to get people that are going to make long-term thoughts about, well, Shedeur's not ready. You know, Shedeur is not meant for the NFL. He's not an NFL quarterback. If you give him the proper tools, if you give him the proper, and not even necessarily say tools, the proper opportunity, if you let him mesh with the starters and get real-time reps, I would definitely argue to say that he can make the plays that we know that Shedeur Sanders can make, because he's not a bad quarterback, right? We've seen what he can do. And granted, this is also not college. But at the same time, I feel like with his pedigree, and if he locks in, which we've seen him lock in before for his own sake, and we know that he is very hard on himself in terms of his skill. Like, just think about the clip that I'm sure we all saw at the end of the game with him sitting on the bench with his basically just kind of staring in space, and one of his former teammates from Colorado comes over to, I guess you could say, console him. Because there's a sense of brotherhood there that I'm sure his teammate knows that this is not Shedeur Sanders' best outing, but this also hopefully it won't be the last time we see Shedeur Sanders start in an NFL game. And I think if he gets the real time, the real reps to prepare, I think he'll be just fine.
Yeah, agreed. Hope to see him more, and hopefully you see him for the rest of the season. That would actually make me watch a Cleveland Browns game.
Right. A lot of people.
Simone, if we're watching TV this weekend, will we see you? You working? You doing anything?
So yeah, actually this weekend we're playing volleyball. So SWAC volleyball tournament Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So you could catch me on SWAC TV.
Where's the tournament at?
It's going to be, if you let me finish.
I'm sorry.
All that scuttlebutt over there. Shenanigans. It would be at Florida A&M. So FAMU is going to be hosting. So make sure y'all tap in for some volleyball this weekend.
I have not followed volleyball closely this year. Is Jackson State girls, they're
competitive.
Jackson State and FAMU, are those the two teams?
Yep, both very competitive. It's going to be interesting because obviously it's a lot of football being played on Saturday, a lot of high-stakes football. 2 games on Saturday, so you can fit that in with the football schedule. 4 on Friday, and then 1 championship game Sunday.
All right, it'll be interesting. Catch Simone on SWAC TV this weekend. Wilton, I know you'll be having popcorn at the Vet for the Soul Bowl.
Absolutely, I will be at the Soul Bowl, keeping an eye on covering that game. Of course, also watching some of the, or at least have it on some of the Division II playoff games as well. Those happen this weekend. And shout out to Simone for being on the volleyball calls for SWAC TV. I'm gonna be a little biased here. Go Jackson State volleyball team. I have some students that's on the volleyball team, so I told them I was rooting for them, and I hope they get the job done.
Wilton says this every show. I'm not being biased about Jackson, or I am being biased about. We know.
The man is a Jackson State professor.
It's fine.
There are only moments when I have my bias.
It's perfectly fine, but we know. We know. Like, he reestablishes this every show.
Look, the man's students are on the volleyball team. He's got a rep for his ladies.
He should.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
but we know you are, which is fine. That's like me saying, "Oh, y'all know I gotta go for DeSean Jackson." Y'all know this.
Yes, you don't put a disclaimer out there. You just go straight to it.
Oh, and shout out to one of the guys on the Alabama A&M sports medicine staff. Because when I was at the game, he was like, "Oh, you on the HBCU game day show?" He was like, "I love your takes." So somebody liked my takes.
And you didn't even bother to ask him his name. Thank you, young man.
No, he might not want his name disclosed, so I'm not putting it out there. That's called
You don't know his name, Simone.
First of all, I don't know anybody's name, okay? Because I meet too many people in my brain.
You meet a fan, don't even get their name.
I'll remember he has.
Sorry, sir. If you see me out, I will remember your name. Simone, not so much.
Golly. Alabama A&M Sports Medicine. It's about the name on the front, not the back.
All right, sports medicine guy and on the hill. Thank you for liking Simone, even though she doesn't remember. He said the whole show.
Oh, but how about this? He didn't know my name. That's because he said, "You the girl on the HBCU game day show," and I said, "Yeah." And I'm almost pretty sure he said, "What was your name again?" So he didn't even know mine.
Okay, well now he does. That's Simone Stanley. Wilton Jackson, I'm Tolly Carr. Enjoy that football and volleyball this weekend. We'll see you guys next time.